Oh, hi there, humans. So I have some very exciting news, which I wasn't able to tell you for the longest time. But I was given the chance to play not only a section of Greymoor, but to explore the entire lands of Northern Skyrim at my own pace. During my adventures, I had access to all of the new zone, as well as the new systems like the vampire skill lines and Antiquities. But before we jump in, just a few things to keep in mind. This was a very early build of Greymoor. There are still things that are going to change from this footage that I'm showing you, and it was a Skyrim that was still a work in progress. I'm also unable to show you any of the actual numbers to do with the skill lines and the abilities because they're still actively balancing those as well. So those of you who like your numbers, I'm sorry, no numbers for you. But with that out of the way, welcome to Skyrim. For a lot of us, this is a very familiar place. Logging into the game and seeing this zone that I was so familiar with was honestly so surreal. But even though this is the same Skyrim that we all know and love, you'll soon discover it's a very different place indeed. It's important to remember that the events of ESO take place lore-wise around 1,000 years before Skyrim. Some of the structures and cities that we know well haven't even been built yet. And even though we already know Skyrim is a place of political unrest and tension, the struggles of this time are vastly different. The region we get to explore in the first release of Greymoor is the northernmost point of Skyrim. To give you some kind of idea of scale, here's the region that's currently explorable in Greymoor compared to the full map of Skyrim. It is likely that the other regions will be added in as in-game DLCs, just like they did in Elsewhere. So a lot of Greymoor is focused on exploring familiar places in a brand new light. Of course, there's still a few places that you'll instantly recognize, and one of those is Solitude, one of the most iconic places in Skyrim, and it is the main hub city in Greymoor. It still has everything that you'd expect and feel is Solitude. You have the Blue Palace, the windmill, the little cobbled streets. I instantly felt at home walking through the streets of Solitude. Morthal and Dragonbridge are some other locations that you might recognize from Skyrim. Other than the cities and towns and villages we might remember, the rest of the world is a mix of frigid snowy tundras that we all associate with Skyrim, as well as open plains that are teeming with wildlife. But the devs made a point of telling us that the overland is only approximately 60% of the playable space. Skyrim holds a dark secret, and if you care to explore just a little more, you'll realise there's a vast cavernous underbelly waiting to be explored. Blackreach is a giant underground cave system that spans underneath the entirety of Skyrim. It's a dangerous place, filled with vampire thralls and a whole host of unpleasant and sometimes intriguing creatures. Each section of the caves has its own look and feel to it, with different unique biomes. There's also quest hubs down there, as well as the new public dungeon, and this isn't just a cave, it's a whole almost zone underground. I don't recommend running in there. Not that I did. I definitely didn't do that. But even though some of these places might look intimidating, it's worth noting that anyone can come in and explore, not just high-level characters. One of the biggest differentiators between ESO and other games of its genre is that the expansions aren't for max-level characters. New players can come straight into Skyrim if they really wanted to. Similar to Elsewhere, all 4 updates are thematically tied together, and the narrative will arc through a whole year of storytelling. However, the tone with this one is very different to anything that they've taken on before. There's really this sense of a much darker, more sinister twist to the story. ESO is going gothic, with a main story revolving around vampires, witches, werewolves. People are disappearing in Skyrim, and strange storms are enthralling people, turning them either into these weak, harrowed creatures or blood fiends. Of course, some of your fan favourites are back. Narcissus Dren, that fool of a Nord, Rigget the Brash, and of course, the badass half-Norn, half-giant, Lyris Titanborn. Lyris has a massive role to play in this story, and she actually accompanies you on large parts of the player quest. The devs also made a very sneaky reference to Ravenwatch, and they just said, you'll get to meet at least one of them, so I guess we'll find out about that later. All in all, it's our job to find out what's going on with everything that's happening in Skyrim, and it's up to us to save Solitude and end the harrowstorms once and for all. Speaking of dark, gothic vibes and bloodsuckers, Greymoor includes one of the features I have been most excited for personally, A much needed and much requested update to the whole vampire system. The skill line has been completely reworked for Greymoor. Some of the familiar abilities are there, like we still have Undeath, but they have been changed slightly. And we also have some brand new abilities on top of that, including the new flashy ultimate, Blood Scion. Blood Scion allows you to transform into a Lord of the Night. You heal to full health and increase your max health, magicka, and your stamina. While in that form, you also heal yourself for a percentage of the damage you deal, and you can see enemies through walls. The animations and everything to do with this form is just darn cool, and it's a really nice, visceral ultimate. Being able to transform into a vampire in ESO always seems so cool to me, but I was ultimately disappointed at how the system currently works. In the game right now, if you do nothing, you become more powerful, and feeding actually weakens you. This always seems strange to me, and I think this is something the ESO team really took on board, and they took a much deeper look into what it meant to be a vampire and how they want players to feel who are vampires. Now you become more powerful by feeding, which makes so much more sense to me, and you can progress up the 4 stages of vampirism. To stay at the highest stage, you'll have to feed regularly. They've also updated the feeding animations to be more gory. You literally jump onto people and rip them to pieces. It's horrific, but also strangely fun. Just like the necromancer, vampiric abilities are now tied into the justice system, meaning that, surprisingly, guards don't take too kindly to seeing you rip chunks out of innocent villagers, and you will accrue a bounty.
This one thinks you are a vampire.
Stinky werewolf fans, don't fear, you have exactly the same. Guards will kick your butt and send you running out of town with your tail between your legs if you do anything that is outwardly werewolfy. Another new feature I was very excited to try out was Antiquities. You can join the Antiquarians Guild in Solitude just outside of the Blue Palace, and that unlocks the skill line and abilities to start scrying for objects. In a new tab in your quest log, you can see a list of leads, clues to where ancient artifacts might be hidden. They're ranked in quality, just like items, which gives you an idea of the difficulty of the dig. When you're ready to start scrying and looking for the artifacts, you can start the first minigame. Here you're trying to match the shapes in order to clear a path to the glowing blue circles. The glowing blue circles are clues, which if you unlock them, will give you more of an idea of where you might find the antiquity on your map. You have a certain number of turns, as well as abilities which can clear more squares at a time. It's kind of like a match 3 mixed with Minesweeper. The ultimate goal is to get all of the clues, which means you'll be able to pinpoint the exact location of the antiquity. If you mess up the puzzle and you only find a few clues, which by the way, I messed this one up on purpose so you could see, you'll still be able to find the dig site, but it will just take you longer to find the artifact you're looking for. Instead of giving you 1 or 2 locations where it might be, it'll give you lots of locations. You'll then have to scout all of those areas to find the dig site, rather than just going to the one location where you know the artifact's going to be. There's a glowing area that gets highlighted on your map, and when you get there, you're searching for a shining mound of dirt. Finding this will activate the digging minigame. This again feels a bit like Minesweeper, but with a bit of battleships thrown in. Underneath the dirt is a chest somewhere, and it's your job to find it. You have tools that allow you to use different abilities to clear the dirt in different ways, and you can use the scrying eye to give you an idea of how far you are from the treasure. Purple is not close, blue is warmer, light blue is really close, and green indicates that you're right on top of the treasure chest. Once you find the right spot, you'll get a chest. There's also some bonus items that you can find if you have enough of your energy bar left over. I'm usually not massively a fan of minigames, but honestly I found both of these to be pretty fun, and it certainly added more to the theming of the whole system than just go to the right place, pick up thing, dig thing. So I'm a fan. The rewards include furnishings, motifs, body markings, mementos, a whole new set of jewelry enchants, music boxes, emotes, mounts, and siege weapons. You might have also heard about the mythic items. They mentioned it during the announcement. These are powerful relics which you can only wear one of at a time. They give a one-piece bonus that can change up your playstyle. The example the devs gave us was a pair of boots that when worn prevent you from being snared or rooted. This sounds kind of overpowered, right? Well, the downside is you can't sprint with them on. So they're powerful items, but with key drawbacks that can lead to some interesting character customizations. If you are someone looking for powerful items and wanting to prove your worth, you're probably going to have your sights set on Kyne's Aegis, the new 12-player trial. It's on an island to the north of Solitude that has a serious giant problem, and not only that, they're led by a vampire lord. It's similar in size to Sunspire and has 3 bosses, each with their own unique hard modes. Obviously, I wasn't able to do the trial by myself on the test servers, but I did loiter around at the entrance for you. The devs talked a lot about how they want to get back to their roots with trials and focus on linear progression where they can put real details into the bosses and the scenarios that players are facing. Like the second boss, Captain Vral, that takes place on a giant longship where you build ballistas to fight the boss. There's of course new gear, achievements, and apparently a new group-oriented memento. Overall, after exploring ESO's version of Skyrim, it feels like a very vast and varied world. It has a whole range of creatures and environments. They've added a lot of familiar details and locations, but I feel like they're not pandering too much to the standalone Skyrim game, which is something they could have easily done. This is a different version of Skyrim, but it still has that lovely sense of familiarity. ESO has 15 million players right now. It's seen a huge burst of growth in the past year or so, and that doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. And even more so with the addition of Skyrim, I think it's going to bring in a lot of new people. There's already a lot of people coming into my stream and asking about, oh, Skyrim's going to be in this game? Will it be like the Skyrim that I know? So there's a lot more interest in ESO than ever before. Of course, thank you so much to the devs for letting me into your server. Probably a questionable decision, but I can't wait to explore more when Greymoor actually releases. If you have any questions about Skyrim and Greymoor in general, do let me know in the comments. I will answer what I can from my knowledge of playing on the server. I'll answer what I'm allowed to answer. And you can also come and find me live over on Twitch at twitch.tv/dawnwhisper. I play a lot of Elder Scrolls Online, and you're always welcome whether you're a veteran player or somebody who is brand new to Tamriel. Thanks for watching, and may your sweet rolls be ever plentiful.